Welcome back to the Backseat Startup Podcast with your host, Andrew Hutton.
Okay, welcome back, everybody, to the Backseat Startup Podcast. I'm your host, Andrew Hutton, and I'm joined here by Sherif Kozman, founder of NAYA, which is a modern financial data management platform. And if you don't know what that means, I didn't know what it meant right away, and we're about to learn because Sherif is been around the block as a founder and working on something really pretty deep and very interesting, and I'm excited to have him join us on this show. So Sherif, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, Andrew, and pleasure to be here talking to the audience.
I love it. I love talking about topics that I don't know very much at all about, and I'm an inquisitive person here, and we've been talking backstage and getting to know a little bit about what you're building and what NAYA is. So give us the elevator pitch. What are you working on? What is NAYA?
Yeah. Well, again, we're working in a totally unsexy market here. So that's the thing. It's not a hip thing like a buy now, pay later or a payment gateway. So that's
I mean, if you find buy now, pay later sexy, I don't know. There's something wrong with you. I mean, I thought you were going to say something like AI or cannabis or I don't know, something like really cutting edge.
yeah, that's true. But again, this is where the money is. So and just jumping into it. So NAYA is a financial data management and reconciliation platform for fintechs and financial institutions. And I know it sounds a bit ambiguous and vague, but again, so what we're trying to do here is we're trying to help fintechs and financial services companies build, scale, and manage financial workflows at scale, easy, quick, fast, reducing a lot of complexity, pain, money loss that usually comes in with such pain. It's something that, again, I have witnessed over my 20 plus years of experience working with fintechs and financial institutions, that data management, third-party data aggregation with different sources, financial reconciliation has been a continuous pain over the years. Again, causing a lot of money loss. There's a lot of manual processes. You'll be amazed how big tech fintech companies still using Google Sheets for a lot of financial transactions. So,
see, that's what I don't doubt, that most of us are not privy to when you pop the hood of probably even like a cool, sexy company like a Plaid. Maybe Plaid has their act together, I would hope. But maybe everyone else south of Plaid, they're kind of the pinnacle, right? Every fintech, and to be fair, I've done some work from the outside in with some of these financial services orgs, like big ones, the banks, and they're trying to be techie and they're trying to create, fintech type solutions, and they're worse than the fintechs because they have legacy platforms and it's spaghetti, it's data that doesn't speak to each other. No, I don't doubt that underneath these like shiny wrappers of like fintech innovation, like neobanks, credit cards for this or that or whatever, is just like Excel sheets or processes that are just like brittle and breaking and or hard to build.
That is spot on true. And again, it's something that I have been witnessing over the years with different projects and different customers across the globe. And this is what shaped the pillars of NAYA. It's those three pillars that we're focused on. It's aggregate, normalize, and reconcile. And in a nutshell, what does that mean is we help fintechs aggregate data from different sources, which is something that takes a lot of time and complexity to build in terms of integration with other third-party data. And then we help them clean that data, make sure that it was supposed to be, so they can actually do analysis, they can do matching, they can do audit, which is very important in financial services. And then they reconcile through the different sources. So between merchants, between customers, between banks, which is, again, where the Excel sheets and the Google Sheets comes in play usually most of the time. And I don't want to say the only, but one of the ways that they do it is that they employ a large number of human resources to do this or use very complex and expensive systems.
Yeah.
And again, it takes so much time to build and a lot of expertise.
Yeah.
And
something else about your approach, and again, I sort of love that there's I think this is you have a really good, I like the approach, is that it's like a developer first mindset. It's sort of like Stripe-esque I don't know if you would
I'm,
call yourself Stripe for fintech, but
I am an engineer by trade, so I do come from this background.
yeah.
So I do understand.
Well, I just think that's given that the world is moving, like digital is a 50-year-old term, 20-year-old, like the world, but software still hasn't fully eaten the world, right? And so whether it's more new fintechs, whether it's these old financial institutions, as they're moving more and more into these, creating new products, services, innovations, yeah, I can see the need for just much more modern building blocks, right?
Yeah,
And
and the thing is about financial services in general, as you just said, it's kind of a legacy business in a way because it's very much around compliance, regulations, and standards. And
mm-hmm.
in that sense, it didn't evolve much. So unlike again, you've mentioned AI and Web3 and all of this, which is hip and everything, but there's a certain set of rules and regulations companies and fintechs that need to abide by in order to go into that space, or
Yeah.
else they get scrutinized. So
Yeah.
in that sense, early stage companies, for example, fintechs, they take a lot of time to build that core data infrastructure in order to be operational and focus on their business value. And this is what we're trying to help
Mm-hmm.
some of them go shorten down that 6 to 12 months period down to a few weeks so they can actually go to market faster and more prepped and ready and in compliance.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. So just so the listeners can get to know you a little bit, Sherif, what's your background and how did you get yourself into this?
Yeah, so again, I'm a software engineer by trade. I haven't been doing so much software engineering. I jumped into business almost 22 years ago. I have this. This is my third business. My previous business was a software development house and a Google
Mm-hmm.
Cloud partner. So we've been across cloud infrastructure, software development, digital transformation for a couple of decades now. And this is where I got my exposure to global players and
Mm-hmm.
partners that we've been working with. And this was where the genesis of NAYA came, actually.
I dig it. I dig it. No, I cut my teeth my early career as a consultant at Accenture, and we did all those digital transformations and getting folks onto clouds and the whole nine yards. So no, absolutely, this is something I get that you've seen it, and now you're going to go get it from another angle, which I think is awesome. How far along is Naya? So you're early stage, but like where in the mix are you?
We are in early stage with in a, let's say, private alpha with early adopters that we've been signing up over our website. Again, what we're trying to do is we want to make sure that what we're building with our customers to be
Mm-hmm.
fit for what their use cases. So we have a bunch of fintechs that we've been working with into the MVP, and again, we have a timeline of being into public beta by Q1 of 2024, and that's it.
That'll be here before we know it. Awesome, awesome, Sharif. Well, let's do this. Now that the listeners know who you are and what you're working on and coming from, let's shift over to the kind of second act of our pod here. Let me share my
Sure.
screen. We are going to jump over into Reddit, the wild west of the internet, the
That's
front page
true.
of the internet, as they say.
Today's episode of the Backseat Startup Podcast is brought to you by SeedScout. SeedScout is a cold outreach alternative that relies 100% on an autonomous double opt-intro system. Log in, pick a plan, and request intros to investors at ease. On SeedScout, know what investors are active, which ones have recently engaged, and send intro requests to ideal investors with a click of a button. Once connected, carry on the conversation over email and feel free to take it off platform. Now, back to the show.
But really, every day, every pod, we have a new set of posts, and you never know what people are going to be. Sometimes they're actually questions. Sometimes they're just, inane posts, comments, whatever. A better way to communicate with clients than email. If you've had a lot of clients, maybe you have an answer to that.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound that interesting. Let's find a
No.
better one. I was cluing into this, looking to talk to startups who outsource development for their initial product, and because I'll reframe the question a little bit, but try to stay kind of in the same area, which is because of your background as a one engineer, two building businesses, doing software developments and many things, and now of course you're building this new business yourself. How do you, let's give advice a little. I want to ask how you've done it, but how do you, if you're talking to an early stage founder, this person, how do you usually advise founders to go about setting up their initial product development or technical team, where
That's
maybe they're non-technical,
Yeah,
things like that.
that's actually, although it doesn't sound that interesting for at the first glance, but it actually is because again, I've been a business person for a couple of decades, and what I've learned, and this is what I'm trying to use or do in NAYA, is be as lean as possible. A
Mm,
lot of early stage startup founders or first time founders, they are very protective of what they call the idea or the business itself. And one of my mentors, a very long time ago, taught me this: that ideas are a dime a dozen. It's those who get executed that counts. So, in order, most of the times, first time founders, they wouldn't do that. They wouldn't go to an outsourced company to do that out of fear that they lose whatever they got. And in my
mm-hmm,
opinion, they shouldn't be have this fear. If the business is solid, if there's a tangible value at the business, then by all means, go get your MVP up and running, prove that
mm-hmm,
it works, and scale,
mm-hmm.
and then do any of this. Again, it's most of the time it's not about the tech; it's about the value.
Correct. Oh my, I'm so glad you said that. I think that that's probably the statement that, underpins all of my opinions about this, that the tech is a means to an end,
An
right?
enabler.
It's obviously maybe the reason why it's such an exciting business, because the tech can scale, because you can just do some really cool things. But in the end, if you're not delivering value, and so I'm of two minds of this. One is that, in the world we live in today, the cost of doing anything technical is like so low, right? Whether
Hmm.
it's because you can outsource technology, whether because you can use no code. And so so actually, I don't know if this is two minds. This is maybe like my one mind. It's the non-technical founders can absolutely jump into software
That's
technical
true.
businesses, right?
That's true.
Where maybe a decade ago, if you didn't have a technical co-founder, you were sort of, out in the cold, maybe looked down upon, maybe not,
Yeah,
a non-starter.
that's 100% true. And again, there are some business problems that requires hardcore tech and in-house
Correct.
expertise. We're talking AI, blockchain, or any of those, which is fair enough. But in the majority of the businesses, and it's called a business, it's not called a tech startup. Uh, a
Yeah,
majority of the
yeah,
businesses, and again, if you, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the story of Groupon when it started. It was an Excel sheet and a single page on the
yeah,
web where they used to have
yeah.
orders manually. It's not about the tech platform.
I'm a big
So
fan of MVPs that are non-tech, low code, just proving the business value, and then go find. So to get into the details, right? I talk to founders all the time. I'm like, so what are the options for non-technical founders to go get technical teams, whether it's dev shops, whether it's freelancers? I think you're
yeah,
in the
yeah,
space. How do you
yeah.
usually, what are
What
some of the good options, and how do you
uh,
advise founders?
again, as you said, now in such day and time, it's there's a myriad of options. So again, there's a lot of those websites and service providers where you can actually hire entire teams, or you can hire individual developers, or even get a fractional CTO. This is
Yep.
becoming actually a thing these days, where you get a fractional CTO in exchange of time and money, and
Yep.
he would take care of all of this and help you with that. So there's different options. I think startup founders should have their eye on the ball, that the goal is actually get the business out there for people to try and prove that it works, and then figure out later on how they're gonna redo all the code and all of this.
That's like an inevitability, right? Like, it's the first thing is never the final thing, and
Oh, by all
yeah,
means, even after 10 years down the road, it's never final.
yeah. And just to keep like hammering on this, there's also just such risks with trying to hire a technical person as a non-technical person, to building a team, committing to those salaries, right? There's a lot of benefit to having flexible outsource, just
Definitely. And
fractional
again,
or agency talents. What are some of the watchouts though? Like, what's the danger? Because again, there's a little bit of wisdom to having a tech team or a technical co-founder. What are some of the things that, if you were talking to a non-technical co-founder that they should pay attention to when going to find these
Well,
dev shop type?
yeah. So again, I would say look for relative experience. If you're working on a specific domain, again, look for either freelancers or dev shops that have previous history and success stories within the same domain that you're looking for. Yeah, you wouldn't be in an apparel kind of business and then going source a dev shop that is in the fintech space.
Right.
It doesn't make sense.
Right.
Again, there's the legal part where you have to just dot the I's and cross the T's, that you're in control of your software code.
Right, of course.
You have full copyrights about everything that the output of their work.
Yeah.
It's things that would save you a ton of things in the future. But again, other than that,
yeah. No, I just love to add into the universe more support for the fact that non-technical people should not shy away from building software. Because you build the no-code thing first, and then it's all doable. You might have to be your own product person. You might have to. Maybe you should. Founders probably should be product people, meaning thinking about the features and the roadmap and prioritization.
Yeah,
but they don't have to be a CTO, right? You don't have to do your own.
Again, I would argue, again, coming back as an engineer,
Yeah.
is that technical founders or CEOs are the worst.
They just want to build, right? They just want to build. Yeah. Everything's a build's problem.
Yeah. Although the real value is sell. So again, I come from this background, and I'm telling you, it's about what you sell. It's not about what you build. What you build is going to come up later. You don't have to build a crappy product, but again, it's what you sell. It's the value. It's the message. It's the story.
I love that you're an engineer saying it's what you sell, not what you build. Yeah, we were chatting about a tangential topic with my previous guest, and he was an engineer, and we were talking about how a technical founder has to put on the CEO hat, or can, or maybe should, and it's very possible. It's at least not something that you should feel like you're cornered, right? And that didn't come up in this conversation because you're obviously doing that. Like your engineering this is your background, but it's not. You're the founder here. You're the CEO, and
I remember I was on one panel in an event, and I was asked as a CEO or a founder, what's the one skill that every founder should have? And immediately I said accounting. You have to know accounting. If you don't know the basics of accounting, P&Ls, profit and loss, top line, bottom line, everything, then you have no hope. Whatever you're building, so that's
actually really interesting because it's actually a very true statement, because without that you are like almost like business illiterate. Like you wouldn't know how to. But it's obviously not sufficient. It's necessary but not sufficient, right? Yeah, that's a way to say it. And you're right. It definitely goes under the radar. I'm sure you surprise people by saying that because it sounds boring. It sounds something. I don't know, right?
Yeah,
like the accountants don't make great entrepreneurs. I shouldn't throw accountants under the bus, but yeah.
I love boring, unsexy business. And again, they survive longer and they have a bigger market. And not everybody wants to get their feet into that.
Yeah. I've been chatting with a founder, a day one founder, for a long time, and yeah, we're kind of going back and forth between businesses that you can build in a flash, and I was giving him the advice today. I was saying that by definition, if there's like easy ideas, it means everyone's tried it. It means there's something that has prevented it from working that is not obvious, but you'll find out just like everyone else. There's a reason why.
That's true.
And then there's these other businesses where not 99.999% of the world doesn't know about it. Like I didn't know anything about FinOps until you told me about it. But in some ways, as soon as you know about it, you just realize it's riddled with problems. It's just so opaque.
It's what makes your car go in a sense of the startup. So infrastructure, hard problems that needs to be there. Somebody needs to solve them, but again, it's not a lot of people that want to do that.
Here's one here's the last question, because this is one that I've seen come up for a lot of folks, which is you're a non-technical founder, and maybe you're in the bootstrap, get it started phase. Maybe you're going to bootstrap forever. Maybe you're going to go raise money, but you haven't raised yet. but you're not technical. And so you kind of know, maybe I should sell first. Let's say you start doing that, but you probably want to start building an MVP. Something needs to get created. Maybe it's no code. Maybe it's obviously not, a very scalable or pretty thing. I've seen a lot of founders, and I can empathize because I'm non-technical, get hesitant because they're like putting down 25K, 50K to build an MVP that I don't know how to maintain it. Am I going to be on the hook for just like paying retainers forever? There's a little bit of trepidation there. And in some ways, it's a problem that they have to solve because they do need to build. Do they raise money first? I don't know. Have you ever run into that? Or again, maybe you're the luxury of being an engineer.
No.
How do you advise?
I do, but again, I'm old school business person. So I've been bootstrapping my previous business for the last 20 years. We've never raised a dollar. This doesn't mean I'm not going to be raising money for my second venture. But again, it all comes down to how much risk are you willing to take and how far can you go? You take it as far as possible. Again, raising money, although it is a hype in different ways, is not the goal. It's only a tool or a way for you to get to the next phase. If you're able to reach that second milestone, the third milestone without raising venture capital, then fine. Maybe your business is not a venture capital scale business, but again, you'd be better off getting a loan, for example, which is a safer bet in terms of raising money. You just need to have an understanding about what is good for your company. Is it venture scalable? Is it again a private equity kind of play? Is it a loan? Is it a small business that is only going to focus on specific region? So you need to know exactly what you need before just going around the hype of just raising venture money.
1,000%. So let's round out with that bit of wisdom. That's a really good word, Sherif. So everyone listening, we tackled, at the little bit of the surface level that we get into, the challenge of getting your technical team together, how you might go think about that. But no, Sherif is founder of NAYA, building modern financial data management, FinOps, solving some really deep problems for fintechs and financial services. Where can folks find you? Where on the internet, whether it's social media, your website, what's the call to action?
So again, for interested fintechs and financial service providers, welcome them to NAYA.finance, that's NAYA.finance. That's our website, and join our waitlist. For reaching out for me personally, I'm LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram as Sherif Kozman. I'm all over the internet, so...
Perfect. Find Sherif. He's everywhere. I didn't know there was a .finance top level domain, that's really cool.
That's a new one.
That's really fun. And well, thank you, Sherif. Thank you, everyone, for listening. This was a lot of fun, and we'll see you all around. Take care.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
The Backseat Startup Podcast is brought to you by StartupStage, formerly known as Startup Founder Daily. StartupStage is the place to showcase your startup and compete for features across our channels. Each week, users can vote for their favorite startups. The top 3 companies, as determined by the votes, are then selected for special features across our blog, podcast, newsletter, and social media platforms. Hit the link in the description below to apply.